You're probably wondering why you're seeing this video pop up again. Well, that's because the original version is being deleted. Long story short, voice actors are beginning to take a stand against their voices being used by AI without their permission, thanks in large part to Mike Pollock, known as the voice of Dr. Eggman, voicing his concerns. It's a pretty serious situation, and if I was a voice actor, I'd feel just as irate. Why is this important to this video? Well, there are a few instances where I use AI for SpongeBob and Patrick's voices. Out of respect for Tom Kenny, Bill Fagerbakke, and everybody else in the business, those clips have been removed from this version of the video. The transitions won't be the smoothest, but at this point, I don't really fucking care. Also, I'm cutting out the Dubby sponsor clip as well. Not because I'm not partnered with them anymore or anything, I just don't want my sponsor in a video that was previously tainted. Anyway, thanks for understanding, and enjoy the video.
What do you think that will look like?
I'm John, nice to meet you. Welcome to my channel, and welcome to my show. It's called JuniorNitro, and today, I'm going to call my therapist. Hey John, have you seen my phone? It's not responding to any of my texts. Dude, we're not doing this again. You're holding it in your hand. Look. Oh. Anyway, have you seen my phone? Do you mind? I'm in the middle of a thing here. Fuck therapy. Play these Nickelodeon games instead. Say what? Here, see for yourself. Oh, Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon.
Ah, memories. April Fool's Day 1979 was the official airing debut of Nickelodeon, the nation's first kid-focused cable channel. The channel would become known for their game shows, cartoons, and iconic slime. Over 40 years later, they now air football players who pretend they're in a cartoon.
Official gets in the way, the game's over!
Well, that was dumb.
They also have a streaming service called Paramount Plus, where you can stream timeless classics, including Sonic Underground.
So, it made sense that eventually Nick would cash in on the video game craze, as game consoles were getting extremely popular. Well,
in the early/mid-90s, Nickelodeon, in cooperation with THQ, released Rocko's Modern Life, Ren and Stimpy, and Guts for the Super Nintendo under Nickelodeon Interactive, with Ren and Stimpy getting another game for the Sega Genesis. With these games, the seeds were planted. Under the new name Nick Games, Nickelodeon would begin releasing a dump truck load of games. And today, we'll be playing 14 of them.
now this is going to be interesting for me, as for the most part, I've never played these games. I remember them being advertised on TV and in games that I already have played, so most of these games are going to be new experiences for me, which is a good thing because I can't say I'm blinded by nostalgia. So, let's dive into the wicked world of Nickelodeon games.
Now, I have indeed looked at a few of these games in the past. I've taken a look at SpongeBob SquarePants Super Sponge, a game in which you play as SpongeBob and you need to get a signed photo of Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy for Patrick's birthday. How do you do that? Unpaid labor. You go do chores for them in order to prove your worth. The game is fine, but the controls are very slippery and some of the hitboxes are cheap as fuck. I also looked at Battle for Bikini Bottom and I still don't get the appeal. This got remastered. Let that sink in. And finally, the SpongeBob movie game. Now this one I enjoyed. Yeah, it's just Battle for Bikini Bottom, but for the movie. But I don't give a shit. It's more enjoyable, and the linear platforming means I don't get lost. Yeah, I said it.
But we're not going to be looking at any SpongeBob games, that'd be too easy. We're also not going to be looking at any Nick Jr. games, such as Blue's Clues on PC or Dora the Explorer on Game Boy Advance, because they're Nick Jr. games made for younger audiences. And no Teen Nick games either, so no iCarly for the Wii. We are purely looking at games based on Nickelodeon shows. And out of all the 14 games that we'll be checking out today, I only played 3 of them prior to recording the footage for this video. And one of them was featured in my Once a Year Games video from last year. And that was the Fairly Odd Parents Break Into Rules.
In the future, we'll all live inside computers. I saw it on TV.
He's not wrong.
So I figured it would be appropriate to start off today's video with this game, released in 2003. The story involves Timmy wishing that he didn't have to follow the rules. Cosmo, being the nutcase he is, grants Timmy's wish. Whoever gets the book next is awarded Cosmo and Wanda's wishing powers. And sure enough, the wish backfires as Timmy's evil babysitter Vicky takes the book and wishes Timmy to sleep.
I wish Vicky didn't have that book.
And I wish I had a trophy wife, but that's not happening anytime soon, now is it?
Jorgen von Strangle then pulls an Inception and enters Timmy's dream, leading to Cosmo and Wanda having their wands replaced by training wands. The trio now have 49.5 hours, oddly specific, to recover every page of the rules, in order for Timmy to get Cosmo and Wanda's wishing powers back. Every level plays out like an episode of the show, which is good. What isn't good is the audio compression. Everything else sounds fine, but then the voiceover kicks in, and... what the fuck?
I didn't know Timmy had different heads.
Just another day or two.
Super Mario 64's dialogue sounds cleaner than this.
Also, only one person talks at a time, resulting in some very awkward moments, like in scenes where they're normally laughing together.
Why am I laughing?
Whatever, it's not that bad. On PS2, because apparently Xbox and GameCube dialogue sounds worse. Anyway, the first level serves as a tutorial, allowing you to get accustomed to the controls, which are surprisingly not that bad. Timmy feels a little stiff, even though he's 10 years old, but for the most part the controls are good. The main goal is to collect 5 stars in order to make a wish, allowing you to progress throughout the level.
Hey, I'm a kid. I'm supposed to have an imagination.
Timmy, can you imagine a better camera angle then?
The other collectible is Crimson Chin cards. Excluding the tutorial, there are 4 cards in each level, and collecting them unlocks clips from the show, which is a very satisfying reward in games like this. This is actually how I discovered the Shiny Teeth song as a kid. But that's not all. If you collect all 33 cards, and you own the PS2 version, your reward is a full episode, Mighty Mom and Dino Dad.
Yeah, unfortunately, due to my inability of handling my game discs with care as a kid, my copy of the game is scratched to the point where it can't get past Mom and Dad and Vicky giving Timmy commands. But that's what backup copies are for!
The final boss leaves a lot to be desired in my opinion. Vicky gets turned into a dragon, and Timmy needs to trick her into stepping on panels in a sequence that makes her say, "I wish I never took the book from Timmy." This earns them the last page of the rules, and therefore completes the game.
It's actually a nice experience, despite the show's creator and his reputation, and I can honestly recommend it. Well done, Blitz Games. Hold up, Blitz Games? You mean these? That's even more impressive considering what they would eventually be responsible for in 2006.
While we're on the topic of the Fairly Odd Parents, let's check out the spiritual successor that was released the following year, Shadow Showdown. The story is Timmy wants to watch the season finale of Crash Nebula, but the TV signal cuts out, preventing him from doing so. Wanda breaks her emergency wand and the gang gets teleported into an old-timey tutorial stage where we learn the controls. Movement feels a lot more bizarre in this game. It's often difficult to get used to. The dialogue sounds so much better in this game, and we have legitimate cutscenes with a smoother flow between lines. It's like an actual episode of the show, which is always a plus for these games. The gameplay is roughly the same as rules, except now each level allows you to switch wishes whenever necessary.
Did I just pull an IGN journalist and fail the tutorial?
This time you only need to collect 3 stars per wish, and there are no lives. The goal is to complete each level to obtain an ingredient for a magical cupcake that can grant whatever wish you want. The cupcake would then allow Timmy to wish everything back to normal before a mysterious shadow creature took the fairy world royal jewel. Overall, this was a pleasant time, and I would definitely like to revisit it sometime, because I finished Dad's dream and decided to stare at Timmy for no reason at all. It looks like he's secretly plotting my death and there's nothing I can do to stop it, so I'm just gonna sit here and let him finish me off.
Maybe I should push Timmy along.
Cosmo, that's illegal.
Alright, well that turned out better than I expected. So far, Nick Games are doing pretty good. I wonder what they'll conjure up next. Well, how about a completely original game that's not based on any Nickelodeon franchise? But Nitro, that's too dangerous. They can't take on such a grueling task. Too late, they just did. What? Look everyone! It's Tak and the Power of Juju!
This game was released in 2003, and it was developed by Avalanche Software. Tak and the Power of Juju is unique in that it is an original video game series, something Nick Games never attempted prior to this game. Tak combines elements of gameplay from the trio of PS2 juggernauts, Sly Cooper, Jak and Daxter, and Ratchet & Clank. Alright, let's see what I'm getting myself into.
Hello?
Hello, smelly, bald, old man.
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly clear.
You do not speak, but I see that you listen.
Oh great, he can't hear me. Well, this relationship is not gonna work out.
You look so strange. Your clothes. A power stick you hold in your hand.
I feel a little offended.
Okay, so this guy's name is Jabulba, and he's the great shaman of the Poo Nunu people. He tells the story of the game in this opening cutscene. This Woody Allen looking motherfucker named Tlaylock got pissed that he wasn't the great shaman, and so he storms the temple and steals the moonstones, deeming the moon juju powerless. A warrior is needed to combat this evil, and he emerges onto the scene as a sheep. Yeah, Warrior Locke ended up being one of the villagers who got turned into a sheep by Tlaylock, so now it is up to Tak to put a stop to Tlaylock's plans and save the Poo Nunu people.
That's Locke. See, he's wearing Locke's amulet.
And he sounds like Chester McBadbat. Oh, he's the same voice actor. Neat. While I was typing this script up, I just remembered that Locke ended up not being one of the villagers that got turned into a sheep. He actually got run over by sheep and died.
Hello, Tak.
Oh, hello there, random green lady.
This is Flora, the game's version of Navi, but thankfully not nearly as annoying. She gives us a quick tutorial on how the game is played. Tak is a platformer with some puzzles sprinkled in. There's also some mini-bosses. I was not expecting that. As far as the gameplay goes, it's fine, I guess. I mean, I personally don't get the immense amount of appeal and praise the game received, but you know what? This game is pretty okay. My only complaint would be that you can easily get lost or find yourself stuck. This is probably just a me issue, but once I got to a certain point in the game, I couldn't for the life of me figure out what I was supposed to do, so I gave up. However, that doesn't hinder the game's performance. From what I played, there's some really neat elements implemented here. You have different weapons Tak can use, feathers that can be collected, and even smacking sheep. Instant 10 out of 10! Okay, in all seriousness, I don't mind this game. The problem is there's a lot of empty gaps that break up the action, and the moments that do show up don't last long. I know I only played the first few levels or so, but those first few levels have to count. And while I did find most of the platforming and puzzles to be a well-balanced mix, it just wasn't engaging enough. But hey, it's only the first game. It served its purpose, and eventually got a sequel. In conclusion, Tak 1 is okay, but it eventually gets boring, and I find myself losing interest.
Sorry if that wasn't exactly what you expected me to say about this game. Please make no mistake, I do think this is a decent game and worth checking out. Just expect to look up some walkthroughs. Now, let's see what Tak 2 The Staff of Dreams has in store for us.
Here we go. This was the one I remember fondly as a kid. The options menu has a cutscene you can watch that recaps the events from Tak 1 if you never played the game before, or you're me and you just said, fuck it, I'm moving on now. Tak falls into a deep sleep and is greeted in the dream realm by a beam of light. Yep, that's what we're going with here. So Tak feels slightly different. It feels like Avalanche fine-tuned the control just a tad, and I can appreciate that. Tak never had a control problem in the first game, but I welcome the slight adjustments.
Hey you! Wakey wakey! Good morning, sunshine! Rise and shine!
Oh cool! Locke is voiced by Joe Swanson!
Tak goes through a portal in order to return to the real world. He and Jabulba then set off on a course to see JB, or Jabulba's brother. No joke, that's his name. And would you look at that, everything you loved about the first game back and better than before. And now you can throw Jabulba wherever you want, because he turned himself into a flea. Okay, and can I just say that Tak looks better in this game? Seriously, I think he dropped a few pounds. He looks cool. The game, if you couldn't tell, is a platformer with puzzles you need to solve in order to progress. I forgot to mention the soundtrack. It's very atmospheric, if that makes sense. I used to turn it all the way down as a kid. The fuck was I thinking? Anyway, we reach a Juju shrine and we are greeted by this guy who talks from his belly button. You know what? Not the weirdest thing I've seen. He'll help us find something to cross the river with, but we first need to bring him a barrel of candy. Once we do that, we get a minigame where we try to avoid all the logs and rocks in the river. Another trip to the dream realm, and that's about as far as I got before giving up again. Oh well. Oh, hang on. What's this? Dinky Games? There's a multiplayer mode? Oh fuck yeah, dude, let's check it out.
Welcome to my playground. Now go home.
You're not making any friends with that attitude.
So you can pick 1 or 2 players, and you have a choice of 3 characters, with Locke being an unlockable character. Then you can either play a mini tournament where you set the number of wins needed to win the competition, or free play where you can pick which minigames you want to play. No doubt I spent most of my time playing these as a kid. I could never make it to the bottom of the snow course until now, because I realized that doing tricks is kind of a waste of time. Which is why they have a different minigame dedicated to getting the highest score possible by doing tricks. This kinda rules. I'd sooner play this than Sean Palmer's Pro Snowboarder anyway. Then there's this minigame where you mount a phoenix and pick up weapons to fire at pins and needles. By crafting different recipes in the main game, you can unlock more minigames, but I'm not doing that anytime soon. Alright, I'm all funned out.
I need to know. Are you playing one?
Yes, how did you know? Okay, so tag did get some popularity, and the series even became a trilogy with the Great Juju Challenge. It even got a TV show adaptation, but it sucked. It only lasted 25 episodes, and rightfully so. Other than some of the characters, there is no resemblance to the video games. Tak is not even voiced by Jason Marsden anymore. Instead, we get Hal Sparks. Who is he? Nobody fucking knows. The show effectively killed Tak, as he would only get 2 games after this show, and they both sucked. Although I did have a minor crush on Jira as a kid, but she's a fictional character, so it didn't end up working out. I need a break from all this. I'm gonna play some NFL Blitz.
He feels like right now.
Okay, fine. Let's talk about some of Jimmy Neutron's games, shall we?
So how about this one? Jimmy Neutron Jet Fusion. Weirdly enough, this game was developed by Chrome Studios, who are also known for developing the Tai series. And these cutscenes are an extremely dead giveaway. The story is Jet Fusion gets a distress call from someone that Professor Calamitous is up to no good again, so he interrupts his movie shoot to go do that. Meanwhile, Jimmy is sent to Coach Levy at the gym. Can I just say that seeing Cindy's old outfit and hairstyle from the movie in the game is just weird? Anyway, we go to the gym and...
Welcome, Jimmy Neutron. Initializing diagnostic mode.
Goddard, why are you talking? It's making me uncomfortable. I think we might have to put you down. So we play around the gym to get used to the controls. Then we head out and explore, collecting different items that eventually trigger a brain blast, causing Jimmy to invent a gadget. These purple florp rockets are the game's save points. Neat. So Jimmy invents a thing that turns novels into film.
We have that, by the way, Jimmy. It's called, visual novels.
Anyway, the device, what else, malfunctions, and as a result, Retroville gets turned into an action movie, where Jimmy's new mission is to save his childhood hero, Jet Fusion. We take a few minutes to explore Retroville and defeat some enemies, but then I got to this mini sumo dude and this turned into a rhythm game. I got so distracted that I played this thing about 2 more times, then stopped playing the game entirely. Sorry, Jimmy. We'll save Jet some other time.
With that being said, let's now move on to Jimmy Neutron, Attack of the Twonkies.
Released 1 year after Jet Fusion, Attack of the Twonkies was developed by a THQ in-house studio in Australia. Those always go well. The story here is that Jimmy is doing research on a meteor that comes close to the Earth. So he wants to go up into space in order to get said research. We start the game and we are given a tutorial on how to play it. It's another platformer with puzzles included, and some vehicles. There's just one problem though. I got stuck here. I run around for a bit and nothing is happening. I don't know what to do and I'm locked in this area, meaning I can't do anything else, meaning fuck it, starting over. Hang on. I have to rewatch the fucking cutscenes? Why? You're probably wondering why this is a big deal. Well, that's because you can't skip the cutscenes. I'm pressing every button and fucking nothing is happening.
Oh well, might as well go take a shit.
Okay, we're back. I get back to the part I originally got stuck at, and I'm still stuck. What am I supposed to do?
You're fucking joking. So I'm supposed to position Goddard onto this button because it's a button, and then I tell him to sit to get the last item I need in order to move on. Are you shitting me, game? I reset and watched all the cutscenes again? For that?
Whatever. I finally finished the stage, and the next level is Jimmy flying through space, which is where I quickly said, nope, I'm done, next game.
I'm really sorry to any Jimmy Neutron fans who either liked or loved these games, but I just couldn't get into either of them. Maybe one day I'll return to them, but for now, it's time to say goodbye to the kid with a knack for invention. And the same voice as a Bandicoot female. So why don't we move on to something a little more tame? After all, I have proven that I can't play these types of games. I need something simpler for my tiny brain to wrap around. That's where Rugrats I Gotta Go Party comes in.
Now, Rugrats was one of my favorite shows as a kid, so having a game based on the show that I could take anywhere with me was something that made Nitro a very happy boy, yes indeed. That game was known as I Gotta Go Party. As you could probably guess by the pun, it's a party game, but not just any party game, it's a fucking minigame collection. Now, where have I heard that one before? Oh, Eurocom Entertainment, Eurocom, the guys who made Crash Bash, that makes sense. Anyway, let's jump in, and can I just start by saying, why does Tommy look so intimidating when you highlight the password option? He's just like, tell a single soul and I will end you. The story is that you get invited by the babies to play a game of hide and seek. You go around the Pickles residence and try to find them. Man, I think we have a better shot at finding Waldo. Okay, how about we pick Spike first? That seems logical. Oh, okay, it's a button masher. When the food meter is flashing, mash L on the D-pad, and when the water is flashing, mash R, A, and B. And that's it. Each minigame has a target score you need to get. Reach it, and nothing happens. Fail, and you lose a life, represented by cookies. Do really well, and you'll receive an extra life. These minigames are so easy, you'll find yourself maxing out the life count after 4 minigames. There's a game where you have to balance all the babies so Tommy can grab the sundaes on top of the fridge. There's one where you move Fanny left and right to catch the cookies, and she makes this face when you catch a spider. She also does this if you catch enough cookies. Fanny, don't make me get a restraining order. There's one where Spike slaloms around fire hydrants. There's a matching game. There's a game where you guess which cup Fanny puts Cynthia in. There's one where you have to put the toys back where they originally were. There's one where you race Saturn, apparently, Screwdriver, and Cynthia on a track with a design awfully similar to Mario Circuit 3 from Super Mario Kart. There's one where you navigate a worm through a maze to Phil's hand. There's one where you navigate the Reptar raft down the river while collecting baby bottles. It's easy, but it's super long. And there's one that's Pac-Man, but with cookies. Yeah, the minigames are basic as shit, but it is a Rugrats game on the Game Boy Advance, so I can't really say much else. This shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody, but I managed to beat the game in a little over a half hour. It's that damn short. Is that a shovel or a wang?
But in the end, this game was merely made to cash in on kids who were in love with the show and also owned a Game Boy Advance. Nothing more, nothing less. And I can honestly appreciate that. Hell, I had fun playing some of these minigames, which is what Eurocom was after, making the game fun to play. And it certainly did that, keeping the limitations of the GBA in mind. Now, let's check out one of the PS1 titles from 1998. Rugrats Search for Reptar. Why is Tommy staring at me like that? Did he find out that I shared the password?
I've heard very mixed reviews for this game. Some love it, some hate it. Where do I stand? It's alright. This game was developed by a company known as N-Space, which of course stands for, now I don't like what's going on here, so I'm gonna fly off into space. The game starts out with this in-game recreation of the show's opening. See, back in 1998, this would have been really impressive, but these days, they should have just put in the original opening as an FMV. The story sees Tommy looking for the missing pieces of his Reptar puzzle, so we go around the house and play some minigames in order to retrieve said pieces. We need 12 in total, which you can get from winning minigames or collecting 15 Reptar bars. As far as the presentation goes, it's actually pretty one-to-one with the source material, apart from some of these models.
Funny I mentioned that. Most if not every minigame here is based on an actual episode from the cartoon, which is really cool.
A surprising amount of care was put into this game. I have to applaud N-Space for that. They could have easily put random bits and pieces together and slapped the characters in it and called it a day, but no. They went the extra mile, with a soundtrack that perfectly captures the charm of the show's music, as well as including the voice actors and actresses from the show. Nobody was a cheap bastard about the whole thing either. You hear that, Clancy?
Fuck off!
So yeah, just like I Gotta Go Party, this is a minigame collection, which doesn't automatically make it bad, unless it's Eurocom developing it. The best part about this game is, you don't need to play every single minigame in order to find all of the pieces. The game gives you options, so if some kid out there wasn't able to beat the minigame where you help Fanny escape the alien mothership, it doesn't matter, because you have different ways to beat the game. And they all lead to the same ending, where the babies go to sleep and Tommy dreams of Reptar wrecking the city, including the THQ building. What irony. This is an oddly satisfying reward for all your hard work.
However, I have been neglecting to talk about the complaints that people have with this game, so let's not stall any longer. The controls and camera are pretty whack.
If you played this game, you'll know that the controls and camera are not the greatest. In fact, they hinder the charm in some cases. Half the time you can't fucking see what you're doing, and while you can press a shoulder button to reposition the camera behind you, you'll find that most of the time it doesn't work, and the camera gets put in front of you instead. That leads to you crashing into dozens of walls. And after beating the main campaign, I was gonna stop recording, but then I remembered that I never played the mini golf game at Ice Cream Mountain, so I quickly went over and did that. And honestly, this is pretty fun, and getting a hole-in-one feels so good in any golf game.
This is harder than it.
Oh yeah! Just don't hit it too hard into the hole or else... Also, why does Tommy look drunk? In the end, I ended up with a score of -16, which for me is honestly godlike. And having the cookie race as a separate activity is also cool. Get out of my way, Fanny!
So the game itself wasn't that good, but it more than makes up for it with how faithful it is to the source material. It's got fun mini-games that are based on episodes from the show, all the voice acting, the distinctive soundtrack, and even nods and references to the show. It's a kids game that served its purpose. Obviously, adults were not the target audience, but despite that, this was still a fun game to play. And let me say this. Search for Reptar and I Gotta Go Party are both minigame collections, so if you're gonna praise one game, you gotta give some praise to the other, just saying. Anyway, I think I've spent enough time talking about Rugrats, so let me see what else I can play.
Hey look, it's Nicktoons Racing on the PS1. Here we have SpongeBob's first appearance in a console game. Can you see him? Anyway, this game was developed by Infogrames, who you might know as the developers of several Looney Tunes PS1 games, including Looney Tunes Racing. So you know we're in good hands. This game was released in 2001, 2 years after CTR. The story sees a bunch of Nicktoons gathering together to try and beat the Mystery Rider. Man, I wonder who that could be. By the way, this cutscene looks fucking hideous. I mean, there's definitely a lesser budget than normal game developers, but come on, man. So we start the game and the characters that we can pick are actually quite diverse. The game includes characters from SpongeBob, Rugrats, Wild Thornberrys, Hey Arnold, Ren and Stimpy, Real Monsters, Angry Beavers, and Cat Dog. There are different game modes to pick from, but I'm just gonna select the Grand Prix mode. I gotta say, it is pretty neat to see a pre-rendered preview of the track, similar to what Naughty Dog did with CTR.
Because as we all know, copying Naughty Dog is an instant fucking success! Crash Team Racing split in half.
So we start the race and...
3, 2, 1, go!
Here we are, everyone. The power sliding in this game does not feel natural, and you don't get any sort of boost for pulling off a successful drift. The item distribution is fucking crap. You often find yourself getting hit several times over, and every time you do get hit, you get stunned for upwards of 5 seconds. It's a huge pace killer. You might as well restart if you get hit. All the voices are just pre-recorded clips. Christ's sake, they don't even loop correctly most of the time. Christ's sake! By the way, the rubber banding is by far the worst I've ever seen in a kart racer. I had to restart several times during my runs. Now, this wouldn't be such a big deal if I didn't set the difficulty to easy. Yeah, all this shit on fucking easy. How is it this difficult? Especially with a grid of only 6 racers. Are you fucking kidding me? CTR, a game that came out 2 years before on the same fucking console, has a bigger racing grid. Hell, Even the Mario Kart titles that came out before this game had a bigger grid. Inexcusable. CTR, this most certainly is not. And because of that, I'm done. I guess we'll never find out who the mystery rider is. It will forever be a mystery.
Oh, I get it now! I don't think it needs further explanation, but I did not like this game. I found myself raging quite a bit because of how difficult the easiest difficulty is. See this? This is Nicktoons Racing's fault. I can definitely see a good game here, though. The only problem is it's not there. Oh well. At least it's not Nicktoons Unite.
Oh yes. This was the beginning of a saga of crossover Nickelodeon games. Weirdly enough, in European territories, this game is called SpongeBob SquarePants and Friends Unite, probably to sell more copies. But since we call it Nicktoons Unite, it doesn't count as a SpongeBob game, so we're gonna play it. The story is that Plankton has teamed up with Vlad, Calamitous, and Crocker to form the Syndicate. Jimmy recruits Timmy, SpongeBob, and Danny in order to take down the Syndicate. As far as presentation goes, where do I begin? For starters, why does SpongeBob look like that? And who thought that was acceptable? He just looks weird, and Jimmy doesn't look any better either. This is honestly the best they will ever look in these games because they just get worse and worse. I mean, have you seen Tack and Globs of Doom? Good God, someone call the police.
Your holograms are right, Timmy. We must work together to stop the Syndicate.
Don't you just love seeing pre-rendered animations and cutscenes? This is Nintendo GameCube, everyone.
Anyway, we begin our quest by visiting the Ghost Zone. We help this guy take care of the ghost rats hiding under the cell bunks. Then we move on to some puzzles mixed with combat. You can switch characters by pressing a direction on the D-pad. What's weird about this game is that you have to press the X button to jump, as in the GameCube controller's X button, because the A button is the attack. What is this, Super Smash Brothers? After a few minutes, we get to a mini-boss where we have to spam the attack while he's vulnerable. I'm not even kidding. Occasionally he'll spawn in some ghosts, but they're not a major threat. We beat the boss, and Danny then leads us to a ghost portal. Ugh, you know what? This game isn't speeding up anytime soon, so I'm done here.
Sorry guys, I know this game has its fans, but this is one of the most low-budget, slowest, and ugliest games I think I've ever played. Not to mention, in a later level, you get to access a little Goddard within Goddard. I think it's safe to say that I'm going a little crazy, but at least it can't get worse.
Hey look, it's Nicktoons MLB. So yeah, this is a baseball game with Nicktoons. What you see here is what you get. Let's see, which team should I pick? Well, being a Yankees fan, I'm gonna go with the Yankees. My pitcher will be Dudley Puppy, my first baseman is SpongeBob, and my outfielders will be Patrick, Zim, and Sheen. And let's see, we have 6 Nicktoons stadiums and 6 real ballparks. But let's go to the Poseidome. Alright, let's put the Kinect through its paces. Cute loading screens, but why is Otis with Betty? Isn't that supposed to be Daisy? I gotta say, the ballpark looks really nice and it captures the charm of the show very well.
As always, I'm Perch Perkins here with Grr.
Yeah, this game also has commentary from Perch Perkins and Grr.
I gotta tell you, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, that went wrong. That went wrong as well. Oh, fuck off, Kinect. This thing needs you to do everything 10 years before they actually happen because the delay is atrocious. Come on, A-Rod, you got this.
Big fly ball hit to the outfield.
Well, that sucked. When this game expects me to do everything at a rapid pace, the Kinect just cannot keep up.
There's the run.
Yeah, fuck this, I'm using a controller. Better with Kinect sensor, my fucking left nut. So now that I have a controller in my hands, I can confirm that this is indeed Major League Baseball 2K with Nicktoons. Not only was it better, but I managed to beat the Boppers 25-0, with SpongeBob pitching a perfect game. Granted, the difficulty was set to easy, but hey, it's an improvement. You guys saw my struggles with the Kinect.
But there's really nothing else I can say about this game. It's a sports game, nothing more, nothing less. However, you can unlock cards for completing certain tasks with certain characters. Other than that, there's no other incentive if you don't watch baseball or play it. You know what people do play though? Kart racers. and Nickelodeon decided to give it another shot with Nickelodeon Kart Racers.
Alright, let's see what we're getting ourselves into here. Boy, this game really wants you to play it, doesn't it? Released in 2018, Nickelodeon Kart Racers is essentially Mario Kart, only with Nicktoons, and the controls are a bit janky. For starters, you never feel in control of your drift, causing you to second guess a lot, which is not something I want to do while drifting in a kart racer. This game has a bunch of everybody's favorite Nickelodeon characters competing in a slime Grand Prix. You compete in races, slime races, and elimination races. Oh yeah, I should mention this. Getting slime in your kart allows you to get a speed boost, and if you fill up the bar all the way, you can unleash a mega boost. Oh, there's also slalom races where you slalom between gates. Gimmicks in a kart racer. Can you see the problem here? It's not the character models, it's not the janky controls, it's not even the fact that you can play as Fanny. It's the goddamn gimmicks. I don't like them.
Now granted, they are tolerable, but there are too many of them. Can I please just have a normal race?
The tracks themselves are actually not that bad. They're quite impressive in most cases. But again, the janky drifting really sucks the fun out of these tracks. What more can I say? It's SpongeBob driving around with Tommy, Arnold, and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. What's not to love? There is one huge buzzkill though. That is that there is absolutely no voiceover whatsoever. Sorry Nickelodeon Kart Racers, but I'm gonna go back to CTR.
Oh boy, I never get visitors. Hello?
Good day, small human.
Oh my god, it's the world-famous Oscar-winning actor, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I'm here to tell you that there is another Nickelodeon Kart Racers game that you need to play.
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah, see for yourself.
Why?
Yep, just when you thought Nickelodeon wasn't gonna double dip, they did. However, this game does introduce some much needed improvements from the original. The controls have been fine-tuned, so the karts feel much better. Drifting still sucks though. Okay, so the problem is that I played the Grand Prix on the slowest speed, which is why the drifting is piss. On faster speeds, the drifting is better. There's a much larger list of playable characters in this game, and extra characters appear as perks. These give you an advantage on the competition. Things like extra slime, bonus items, and more. Every Grand Prix sees a new character appear. When you win the Grand Prix, you unlock that new character. These include, but are not limited to, CatDog, Gerald, Fanny, and Heifer. Okay, that mean belly reference was pretty cool. Challenges can also be completed to unlock more characters, chiefs, and crew members. They even include boss races like CTR. I managed to beat Korra without taking the shortcut on this track. There's really nothing else I can comment on here because it's just a more evolved version of the first game, only without all those gimmicky races. Thank God. But once again, no voiceover. Is it just not allowed? Like, is that some legality related issue? Well, whatever the case, not having a voiceover just kills everything.
And again, after about an hour, I find myself just going back to CTR. And I get it, this game is not for me. But even kids would be devastated to find out that all of their favorite Nickelodeon characters just don't say a damn thing. Well, there is one game that changed that. In 2020, Nickelodeon announced that they were going to make a Super Smash Bros. Clone, featuring iconic characters from over the years. The game would be developed by a company called Fair Play Labs, and it is known as Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Our final game we'll be checking out today. Now to give Fair Play credit, the game actually looks pleasant, and every character model is faithfully recreated in 3D, without looking extremely hideous like what we saw in the Fairly Odd Parents games. There's no adventure mode here, it's just you and your friends,
unless you're me and you have no friends,
picking your favorite Nickelodeon characters and putting them in a field of battle in order to decide who is the best. Control-wise, the game plays almost like Smash, except for when you're dropping down to lower levels. Instead of just pressing down on the left analog stick, you have to press down and jump at the same time. Why not just let me press down? And when you're blocking, you can't roll dodge at all. This takes quite a while to get used to, if you can even get used to it at all. I don't understand why they tried to fix what wasn't broken. And just like the previous two games that we talked about, no voice.
Not anymore. That's right. The devs finally came to their senses and provided full voiceover for every character in the game. That includes the DLC characters, current and upcoming. Should have been a standard feature, but better late than never, I guess.
This game, though, suffers from the fact that outside of playing this game with your friends or other players online, there really isn't any single-player content at all. There's a solo mode, which is just classic mode from Smash, only much shorter so it doesn't last as long, and the opponents are random. And while it is great to see DLC characters appear in this game, such as Garfield and Jenny, and we'll be getting more on the way like Hugh Neutron and Rocco, I'm afraid these are just not going to hold the game up that much, unless it gets massive content updates like the aforementioned voiceover one. And I don't know who the hell thought the default special button being square was a good idea, so I switched it to circle and it's 10 times better.
So yeah, unless you're a die-hard Nickelodeon fan and you also like Super Smash Bros., this game is just not going to do it for you. You're better off just playing the real thing. And before anybody jumps down my throat, this game is 2 years old. The fact that the content on offer is still as barren as it was at launch does not speak volumes. As a result, people dropped this game almost immediately. Too much hype and expectation was placed on it, and we only have ourselves to blame for that. It is a real shame that Nickelodeon purely focuses on making these games for kids these days, but some of their recent stuff didn't end up being that bad. But they weren't good either. They're kids' games. They're not supposed to impress us grown adults. Why do we play them anyway?